Hello everybody, my name is Steven and welcome back to the Storytime channel. Without wasting any time, let's get into our stories of the day. Half the class fails the midterm after cheaters copy me. I don't have a problem helping classmates. I really don't. I even tutored several classmates during my final semester of undergrad because they needed the help. They all ended up passing their classes with my assistance. This story comes from a particularly tough business information systems class during my undergraduate education. The students in this class were mostly non-technical business majors, so this new material wasn't at all similar to anything we'd learned in other classes. Needless to say, most of the students were struggling, including me. I still had a 4.0 in college at this point, though I finished with a 3.99, and I was willing to put in the max effort to keep my stellar GPA. I started studying hard. I made my own Quizlet sets, I read the book every night, I finished assignments a week early, and I did outside research. After grinding it out in this class for about a month, I was working on an assignment in a room designated for quiet homework time, and that's where our story begins. Several other students from my class were there and working on the same assignment I was on. Judging by the size of exasperation, the irritated whispers and requests for help, they weren't having much success. Having studied relentlessly for a month, I was having an easier time of it. As I got up to go get some water from the fountain in the hall, a classmate asked for my help. I told him I could do that and I'd be right back. I returned a few minutes later to find what I can only describe as a bunch of busy bees happily working away. This was strange since they were hopelessly stuck 2 minutes before, but whatever. My classmate tells me he figured it out without me. Now, I'm not an idiot, so I know the 5 people in this room probably copied my work off my computer when I went to get water. Scumbag move number 1. But as it turns out, no one in the class needed help the next day or the day after. Whoever in the study room had stolen my work had forwarded it to most of the class. Scumbag move number 2. I don't mind being helpful, but I hate being used. So I made a plan to get back at the people who had stolen my work. It didn't take long to organize my plan and carry it out. Here's how it went. 1. I changed an answer on the next assignment by multiplying by -1. $1,500 came, minus $1,500 on this question. 2. The next week, I left my computer in the same place as before and went to get water, just like I had done the week before. 75% of the people in my class of 40 people put -$1,500 as the answer to question 3, which was definitely incorrect. 3. I began studying relentlessly for the midterm. Our professor had said he wouldn't adjust the weight of the test, something like your score over 50 on a test with 60 points available, so your score of 40 becomes 80% instead of 67%. If anyone scored particularly well, this class was difficult and no one was expecting anyone to score over 75%. So all my classmates figured the weight of the test would be adjusted. My plan was to wreck the curve, even though it's not a curve, and deny everyone the adjusted weight by producing a sufficiently high score. 4. I recruited a classmate who hadn't stolen my work to study with. Together, we aimed to score high enough that our professor couldn't adjust the weight of the midterm. Here's how it all played out. No one who copied me realized the answer was incorrect. Every last one of those idiots submitted the wrong answer for question 3. This next part surprised me, but my classmates began insisting the class was unfair, too difficult, or rigged and launched these complaints at our professor. One day after class, I had the following exchange since I was the last student out of the classroom. Professor says, "OP, do you think this class is too hard?" Honestly, this class is hard, but if people spent as much time studying as they did complaining, they'd be fine. They really just need to get to work. Professor says, "I thought the same." Me deciding spur of the moment my next move. I also happen to know that most of the class incorrectly copied my work on the last assignment. Question 3 should be a net income of $1,500, not a net loss of $1,500. I put down the wrong answer initially, everyone copied me, and then I changed the answer later. I think you can reasonably conclude that anyone with -$1,500 as the answer cheated off my incorrect work. I figured they all copied, but I didn't know you were the source. Anyway, thanks for your candor and your dedication to the class. I didn't cheat, so I don't know what happened to those who did, but depending on the class, they would either get a 0 for the assignment or a plagiarism citation, so they got one of those. Fast forward to test day and I'm ready to go. I know since most of the students are business majors, they need 70% to pass the class because it's a required course. Hurting them on the midterm will go a long way in helping drop their grades. I take the test, I'm the first one done, and I leave pretty sure I've done enough to deny the class the exam weight adjustment. A week later, we get our exams back. Tests are distributed all around me with scores on top in red ink. 68, 71, 70, 66, 75, 67, and these are the smart students. Someone on the end of my row takes a test from our professor and lets out a sigh as he begins passing a test down my row. It stops on my desk. 93%. I've won. Some idiot in the front of the class. So is there going to be a curve? Professor says nope. I say, what was the high score? Professor says 93%. Average score for the exam was 71. So a good number of people didn't get a passing score. Maybe they made up for it on the final and passed, but I don't care. I got mine. This is an absolutely perfect display of pro-revenge. OP, despite getting done dirty, did nothing dirty in return and only crushed them with pure academics. There's nothing but praise you can have for this situation. What do you guys think? Was this justified? Would you have tried going about revenge in a different way? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Made an a-hole redo an entire school year. During the final trimester of my last year in high school, we had to do a group project that needed to be finished by the end of the trimester and was evaluated and graded in front of a jury of teachers instead of an exam. I was paired with the biggest D-bag in class. Imagine a really entitled, arrogant a-hole. Every time we were supposed to work on the project, he would have some excuse to not show up and demand I would work on it alone to make sure the project stayed on track. In the beginning, I tried to complain and talk to the teacher, but she would just say, "Make it work, it's your project." After a while, I stopped planning work meetings altogether. He would call me to ask how the project was going, and I would say something like, "Yeah, it's going well. I think it's almost finished," or, "I'll send you the presentation to prepare for the jury." Little did he know I had a trump card in my hand. The project counted for 40% of the final grade. Me, doing well in the class, already got about 55 of the other 60%, so even if I got a 0 on the project, I would still pass the class. The a-hole had less. A lot less. After it became clear he was just going to use my work to pass the class and the teacher didn't care, I decided to throw out all work for the project and keep the a-hole in the dark. That last bit was a lot easier than I expected, as he was happy with telling me that everything was on track. In the last week before the jury presentation, things became harder. The a-hole wanted me to send the presentation, so he knew which part he had to present. I managed to stall a few days with excuses, but 2 days before the jury presentation, I finally sent him an email with a PowerPoint, which was actually an MP3 file with a changed file extension. The next day, I switched off my phone. In the evening, I called him back with the excuse my phone had issues and he was panicking that there was something wrong with the PowerPoint. I told him not to worry, I will check it out tonight and have a working PowerPoint for tomorrow. I would come to the school at 8 a.m. so he could practice his part of the presentation before the jury appointment at 9 a.m. The next morning, I arrived at school a little before 9 a.m., having switched off my phone again. When he saw me, he approached me with a mix of panic and anger. But before I could explain anything, we were called into the room with a jury for our presentation. I just told the a-hole to not worry and let me do the talking. We greeted the jury and I started the introduction. The original idea of today was for us to present our project XYZ. But since I already have enough points to pass the class and Mr. A-hole over here couldn't be bothered to put in any effort, I decided to skip it and instead have a nice day off today. That concludes our presentation. Thank you for your attention. I just walked out on 4 confused teachers and 1 a-hole with a mouth open so wide it looked like he was trying to eat a club sandwich vertically. Naturally, there was some backlash in the days after that. Teacher called for an explanation, but in the end recognized I was a good student, and I indeed already passed the class without the project. A-hole was angry that he had to study over the summer for a re-exam. All in all, I was happy to have graduated and looked forward to going to college the next year. After the summer, I heard from friends that A-hole failed his re-exam and that, combined with other bad grades, causes him to have to redo his last year. Karma is a witch. Yikes. Now, I'm not going to say it's not justified, but I do say that I would have liked to have seen at least a little bit more attempt to try and get some kind of work out of him, because it sounds like the a-hole was well aware that this was important to their overall grade, and I figure given enough pressure, they would have done something, potentially. I guess maybe not good, but it could have saved their grade if it didn't matter to OP. I want my shower lady. Landlady, boarding me and another lady, tells me that her brother and sister-in-law are temporarily moving in for a week or two. Landlady's brother keeps taking up my parking spot. A week later, landlady's brother and sister-in-law are moving their entire house into this one. Landlady has her own separate third-floor loft, so I rarely see or hear her. Fast forward when routines settle. They are repeatedly disrespectful, taking others' food. Everyone but sister-in-law works, and sister-in-law expects people to entertain her. Sister-in-law would purposely stack boxes blocking the basement or in some gauntlet of haphazard. And even blocking the basement, my room in basement, using herself until she got attention. Landlady's sister-in-law cleans the house. She often flicks the basement light off from upstairs, clucking to herself in amusement. The thing that set me off, my normal routine is work, work out, shower, chill. And I was finding more and more that sister-in-law would spend days cleaning the bathroom in parts and started doing it the exact time that I would come home from my workout and tell me I have to wait. Often leaving the bathroom to dry or take the shower curtain and knot them up or wash them. Okay, fine. Routines clash, but I ask if there's a different time that could be done. Nope. Cool. This goes on for 2 weeks until one day I get home, I had worked on my day off, and my workout was extra that day. I get home about 4 p.m.-ish. The contents of the entire bathroom are now outside of the bathroom. Sister-in-law is watching TV. I asked when this will be finished. Shirt visible with boob and pit sweat. After this, she motioned to the TV. Okay. I come up an hour later. 2. She's eating dinner at hour 3. And by hour 4, I now have to go to bed showerless. Gross. I see the light outside my room go off around 9:30 p.m. and more clucking. Then I hear the shower. Cell flashlight on, I walk 30 feet to the laundry room sink and crank the hot water for 30 seconds and hear the shower turn off. I walk into my room and sit quietly in the dark, and I can now clearly hear landlady's sister-in-law tell her husband to go down to the first floor to watch and listen to the basement. A few minutes pass and I hear the water again. I quietly slip out of my room, and since I know what I am going for, I don't bother with the light. I get to the hot water tank and shut the main valve after the tank off. I quietly slip back into my room and hear landlady's sister-in-law give it good to her husband, who swears he heard absolutely nothing. Sister-in-law marches downstairs and I can hear her against my door. I quietly wait, and after 10 minutes, she leaves to give her husband heck. He asked her to show him the problem. So I slip back out and turn the valve back on before they reach the shower. She didn't try to have another shower. And 10 minutes later, I get mine. All the issues in the house suddenly resolved. I would have been so incredibly annoyed if I was OP, so I think OP is completely justified here and did pretty good making the sister-in-law look crazy. I'm glad in the end, the revenge caused the resolution that OP was looking for. But with that being said, that's all the stories we have for today, so what I want to know is which of these stories was your personal favorite and why? Let me know which story and why in the comments below. And thank you all so much for watching and listening to the Storytime channel. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and don't forget to turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Thank you all again for watching and listening to the Storytime channel.